The warning pulse. Captain Nora Volkov's boots echoed against the polished floor of Station Helios's command center as she strode toward the communications array. The midnight shift was usually quiet on this frontier outpost, but tonight something had changed. "What have we got, Lieutenant?" she asked, tucking a strand of her copper hair behind her ear. Lieutenant Raj Patel turned from his console, his dark eyes wide. "Ma'am, we're picking up a distress signal from Vanguard Colony. It's fragmented, but it doesn't sound good." Vanguard was Earth's farthest research colony, a 3-week journey even with the fastest drives. Volkov leaned over Patel's shoulder, studying the garbled transmission. "Clean it up, I want to hear everything," she ordered. "Already working on it, Captain," Patel replied, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. Volkov tapped her comm, "Dr. Way to command Priority 1. Within minutes, Dr. Marcus Way hurried into the command center. The xenobiologist looked like he'd been pulled from deep sleep, his salt-and-pepper hair disheveled, but his mind was sharp as ever. "What's happening?" he asked, immediately registering the tension in the room. "Distress call from Vanguard. I need your expertise on the xenolinguistic patterns in the background." Way nodded and moved to the communications station. The transmission crackled to life. "Helios, this is Vanguard Colony. We are under attack by static interrupted. Vessels unlike anything we've encountered. They call themselves the Concordat, more static. Scanned our biological markers and called us aberrations. Said Earth was a crucible that should never have." The voice, identified as Vanguard's director, Dr. Jasmine Ortega, sounded terrified. "Burning everything. They're saying all humans must be cleansed from The transmission cut off with a high-pitched whine that made everyone wince. "That's all of it," Patel said grimly. "It came through 20 minutes ago on the emergency channel, nothing since." Wei was already analyzing the background sounds. "Those vocalizations behind the human speech, that's not any language in our database." Volkov's weathered face hardened. "Lieutenant, alert Earth Command immediately, priority black." As the room erupted into activity, Volkov pulled Wei aside. "Marcus, what's a crucible?" Wei's expression was grave. In evolutionary terms, it would be an environment so harsh that it forges life through extreme selective pressure. He paused. "If these Concordat beings are calling Earth a crucible, they're saying we shouldn't exist," Volkov finished. 3 days later, communication with 2 more colonies went silent. The Security Council chamber on Earth buzzed with tension as military leaders and politicians gathered in emergency session. General Haruki Yamamoto stood rigid before the assembly, his face betraying no emotion despite the gravity of his announcement. 3 colonies lost in 5 days. No survivors found at Vanguard. Proxima Station and New Horizon Colony are presumed destroyed as well. Secretary General Lucia Diaz's normally composed demeanor cracked slightly. "And we had no warning, no prior contact with this Concordat." "None," Yamamoto confirmed. "But the transmission from Vanguard was clear. They see humanity itself as a threat, an evolutionary mistake." Dr. Emilia Rodriguez, Earth's leading xenoanthropologist, spoke up. "General, these attacks follow a pattern consistent with the Shiva hypothesis, if I may." At Yamamoto's nod, Rodriguez approached the central display. "For decades, we've uncovered strange anomalies in our exploration, dead worlds that showed signs of advanced civilization but no remaining population. We theorized a systematic cleansing by an unknown force." "Are you suggesting we've found that force?" asked the American representative. "I'm saying the Concordats' behavior matches our theory," Rodriguez replied. "They appear to target species based on their evolutionary origin rather than resources or territory." Secretary General Diaz's eyes narrowed. "Recommendations." General Yamamoto stepped forward. "Madam Secretary, I recommend immediate activation of Protocol Prometheus." A hushed silence fell over the chamber. Protocol Prometheus was the contingency plan many had dismissed as paranoid, a preparation for the worst-case scenario of hostile first contact. "Do we have that capability now?" Diaz asked quietly. "Yes," Yamamoto replied. "The Prometheus fleet has been under construction for 15 years. They're ready." "Authorized," Diaz said without hesitation. "God help us all." Captain Volkov stood transfixed as the massive hangar doors opened within the hollowed-out asteroid-designated Forge Station. Beside her, Dr. Wei gasped audibly. Hidden within were warships, dozens of them, unlike any civilian vessel she'd ever seen. Dark, angular, and bristling with weapon systems, they were clearly built for one purpose. I had no idea, Wei whispered. None of us did, replied a deep voice behind them. They turned to find a tall man with intense gray eyes and close-cropped silver hair. That was the point. Colonel Darien Frost, the man introduced himself, extending a hand. Welcome to Project Prometheus. How long has this been here? Volkov asked, shaking his hand firmly. The first ships were commissioned 12 years ago after we found the ruins on Proxima B, Frost explained. Earth's insurance policy, built in secret while the public focused on peaceful exploration. Wei studied the ships thoughtfully. Someone expected this confrontation. Not expected, prepared for, Frost corrected. After studying the ruins of extinct civilizations, certain patterns emerged. Species that evolved on harsh worlds often disappeared. Now we know why. Frost led them toward the largest vessel, its hull emblazoned with the name Defiance. Your new assignment, he said. Captain Volkov, you'll serve as my XO. Dr. Wei, you'll head our xenobiology division. We need to understand what we're fighting. As they boarded the warship, Volkov was struck by its design, everything reinforced, built to withstand punishment. The crew moved with purpose, many looking like they'd been training for years for this moment. How soon do we deploy? She asked. 12 hours, Frost replied. Our mission is to investigate Vanguard, determine the Concordat's capabilities, and bring back any intelligence we can. Wei looked troubled, and if we encounter their ships. Frost's expression hardened. We show them that humans aren't as easy to cleanse as they thought. The Defiance broke Earth orbit silently, its advanced stealth systems masking its departure. Captain Volkov stood on the bridge beside Colonel Frost, watching as their home world shrank behind them. Set course for Vanguard, Frost ordered, maximum speed. Aye, sir, replied the navigator, a stoic woman named Lieutenant Harper. ETA 73 hours. Volkov turned to the ship's tactical officer, Commander Vaughn. What do we know about Vanguard's defenses? Standard colonial protection grid, Vaughn replied, studying his console. Nothing that would stop a determined assault. Frost nodded grimly, and we have no idea what we're facing. In the science lab, Dr. Wei was analyzing the few seconds of alien vocalizations captured from the Vanguard transmission. His team worked frantically to build a translation matrix, while others studied what little they knew of the Concordat's technology. They called Earth a crucible, Wei explained when Volkov visited his lab. In evolutionary terms, that's significant. Most habitable planets we've discovered have been far more hospitable than Earth. Meaning we evolved under conditions that would kill most species, Wei clarified. Higher gravity, intense radiation, extreme weather patterns, numerous predators, diseases. Earth is actually quite brutal compared to most life-bearing worlds. Volkov considered this, and that makes us a threat. It makes us different, Wei said carefully. Stronger in many ways, more adaptable, able to endure conditions that might incapacitate other species. Their conversation was interrupted by the ship-wide alert. Volkov rushed back to the bridge, finding Frost staring intently at the tactical display. Multiple contacts, Commander Vaughn reported tensely. 7 vessels on an intercept course from the outer system. Configuration unknown, but they match fragments observed in Vanguard's final transmission. Battle stations, Frost ordered calmly. All hands prepare for combat. Volkov watched as the unknown vessels approached, sleek, curved ships that moved with unnatural grace. There was an elegant efficiency to their design that made human vessels look crude by comparison. They're scanning us, Wei reported from his station, having hurried to the bridge. Deep scans, they're analyzing our biological signatures. A communication request flashed on the main screen. Put it through, Frost commanded. The view screen flickered to life, showing a tall, slender being with pale, iridescent skin and large, multifaceted eyes. When it spoke, the ship's computer translated. Human vessel, you carry biological aberrations born of a crucible world. Your existence violates the natural order. Surrender for processing or be cleansed. Frost stepped forward, his voice steady. This is Colonel Darien Frost of Earth Vessel Defiance. We do not recognize your authority to determine which species deserve to exist. Stand down and withdraw. The alien's multifaceted eyes flickered in what might have been surprise. You misunderstand. This is not negotiation, this is mercy. What Earth forged cannot be allowed to spread. The transmission cut abruptly. They're powering weapons, Vaughn warned. Frost's expression hardened. So be it. Target their lead vessel, all batteries, show them what Earth's crucible has forged. As the Defiance prepared to fire its first shots in humanity's unexpected war for survival, Volkov realized that everything had changed. The stars were no longer a frontier for exploration. They had become a battlefield where humanity would fight for its very right to exist. Forged in fire. Commander Eliza Ackaffer stood on the bridge of the Earth warship Intrepid, her tall frame silhouetted against the backdrop of Jupiter's swirling clouds. Behind her, the ship's crew worked with quiet efficiency, preparing for humanity's first coordinated strike against the alien threat. 3 weeks had passed since the Defiance's initial encounter with the Concordat scouts, and Earth was now fully mobilized for war. Status report, Ackaffer demanded, her Nigerian accent becoming more pronounced under stress. Lieutenant Jamal Rivera, the ship's tactical officer, responded immediately. All vessels in position, Commander. The Concordat fleet has entered the outer solar system exactly as intelligence predicted. Ackaffer nodded, studying the tactical display where 12 human warships waited in formation, concealed within Jupiter's intense magnetic field. The plan was audacious, perhaps even reckless, but humanity needed to demonstrate its strength immediately. And the civilian evacuation, she asked. The last transports from the Jovian colonies are clear, confirmed Communications Officer Lena Wang. Ganymede and Europa are evacuated. Ackaffer tapped her command console, opening a channel to the entire battle group. All ships, this is Commander Ackaffer. The Concordat believes we are an aberration that should never have existed. Today we show them exactly what Earth's crucible has created. She paused, letting her words sink in. Remember your training, execute maneuvers at maximum tolerance. They cannot match our endurance or our resolve. Battle plan Thermopylae commences in 3 minutes. Ackaffer out. As the connection closed, her executive officer, Major Bennett, approached with a concerned expression. The acceleration vectors in Phase 3 will push 9GS, Commander. That's beyond safe parameters for extended combat. Ackaffer smiled grimly. And well beyond what the Concordat physiology can withstand. That's the point, Major. We've trained for this our entire careers, they haven't. On the tactical display, the elegant ships of the Concordat Armada moved with precision toward Jupiter, unaware of the human fleet concealed and waiting. All ships execute Phase 1, Ackaffer commanded as the countdown reached 0. The Intrepid surged forward, its engines burning white-hot as it emerged from hiding. Around it, the other ships of Earth's battle group appeared like avenging angels, accelerating at forces that pressed the human crews painfully into their seats despite inertial dampeners. Commander Ackaffer felt her face distort under the pressure, but kept her focus sharp. The Concordat fleet reacted with visible surprise, their perfect formation faltering momentarily before reorganizing to meet the threat. They're targeting us, Rivera reported, his voice strained under the G-forces. Energy weapons powering up. Hold course, Ackaffer ordered, weapons lock on their command vessel. The space between the fleets lit up as the Concordat fired first, lances of coherent energy that sliced toward the human ships. Several found their marks, but the reinforced hulls of Earth's warships absorbed punishment that would have shattered conventional vessels. Return fire all batteries, Ackaffer commanded. Execute brake pattern on my mark. The Intrepid shuddered as its main guns unleashed their payload, not energy weapons, but hyper-accelerated tungsten rods designed to penetrate the energy shields the Concordat relied upon. Across the formation, Earth ships fired similar projectiles in coordinated salvos. Direct hits on 3 vessels, Rivera reported with grim satisfaction. Their shields are failing against kinetic impacts. Now brake pattern, Ackaffer ordered. The Earth fleet suddenly split apart, each vessel executing a brutal high-G turn that would have incapacitated most species. On the bridge, several crew members fought to remain conscious, their faces contorted under forces their bodies were barely evolved to withstand. The Concordat ships attempted to track them but struggled to match the extreme maneuvers. They can't follow, Major Bennett observed through gritted teeth. Their biologics can't handle the stress. Ackaffer nodded, feeling blood vessels rupturing in her eyes, a price she willingly paid. Execute Phase 2, All ships converge from multiple vectors. In the Science Center beneath Geneva, Dr. Kenzo Tanaka monitored the battle telemetry with intense concentration. Around him, a team of scientists analyzed real-time data from the Jupiter engagement, seeking any advantage that might help humanity survive. Remarkable, Tanaka murmured, watching as human ships performed maneuvers that the Concordat vessels couldn't match. Their biology truly is their limitation. His assistant, Dr. Hannah Novik, looked up from her station. The captured data from Vanguard Colony is finally decrypted, Doctor. You should see this. Tanaka moved to her console, where anatomical schematics of the Concordat species displayed alongside environmental data from their homeworld. 0.7 Earth gravity, he noted, minimal radiation, controlled climate patterns, no significant predators. He shook his head in wonder. They evolved in paradise. And we evolved in hell comparatively, Novik added. Earth's gravity, radiation levels, climate variation, and predator presence are approximately 5 times more intense than the average for spacefaring species. Tanaka's eyes narrowed as he studied the Concordat physiology. Their muscle density, bone structure, cardiovascular system, all adapted for efficiency rather than durability. No wonder they fear us. He tapped his comm unit. Connect me to Fleet Command. Our pilots need to know what they're facing. Back at Jupiter, the battle had intensified. The Intrepid shook violently as another energy beam grazed its hull, but Commander Okafor remained focused. The tactical display showed 3 Concordat vessels disabled, their elegant forms now drifting debris fields. 2 human ships had been lost, but the remainder pressed their advantage relentlessly. Their formation is breaking, Rivera reported. They're attempting to retreat. Negative, Okafor responded firmly. Pursuit course. They cannot be allowed to report our capabilities back to their command. The Intrepid accelerated again, pushing after a damaged Concordat cruiser. The alien vessel was beautiful even in defeat, its iridescent hull shimmering against the blackness of space. Prepare boarding teams, Okafor ordered. We need prisoners and their navigation data. Major Bennett looked surprised. Boarding commander, that's not in the battle plan. Plans evolve, Major, so do we. Okafor gestured to the tactical display. Look how they fight, precise, methodical, by the book. They lack adaptation, we need to exploit that. Within 30 minutes, human assault shuttles breached the crippled Concordat vessel. The boarding team, led by Lieutenant Commander Patrick Reyes, encountered minimal resistance. Most of the alien crew had been incapacitated by the extreme G-forces of combat. Command, this is Reyes, came the report. Ship secured. We have multiple prisoners and intact data cores. The aliens, ma'am, they're physically devastated by the maneuvers we considered routine. Their bodies simply couldn't handle the stress. Okafor acknowledged the report, a grim satisfaction settling over her. Humanity's supposed weakness, evolution on a brutal world, had become their greatest weapon. 2 days later, Colonel Frost of the Defiance convened an emergency meeting aboard the fleet flagship Prometheus. The ship's conference room held the highest-ranking officers and scientific advisors of Earth's Defense Force. The Jupiter engagement was a tactical success, Frost began, but our strategic position remains precarious. Intelligence recovered from the captured vessel confirms our worst fears. The Concordat has been systematically eliminating species from crucible worlds for millennia. Dr. Tanaka nodded grimly. Their philosophy is clear. They believe species evolved under harsh conditions develop inherently aggressive and unstable tendencies. They see us as an existential threat to galactic stability. Commander Okafor, her eyes still bloodshot from combat stress, leaned forward. How many ships can they bring against us? Thousands, Frost replied bluntly. They've been the dominant power in this sector for over 50,000 years. Their home systems are heavily fortified and their industrial capacity dwarfs ours. A heavy silence fell over the room as the implications became clear. Humanity's victory at Jupiter had been impressive but ultimately insignificant against the full might of the Concordat. So we're looking at a war of attrition we cannot win, Major Bennett concluded. Not necessarily, Frost countered. His gray eyes shone with fierce determination. I propose Operation Crucible, a direct strike at the Concordat homeworld. Gasps and murmurs filled the room. Impossible, someone protested. Their core systems will be impenetrable. Not to us, Frost insisted, not to Deathworlders. He activated the central display, showing the data recovered from the captured ship. The Concordat homeworld Luminara is a paradise by our standards: low gravity, minimal radiation, perfect climate. Their entire civilization is built around harmony and balance. Dr. Tanaka understood immediately, and they've never had to defend against a species like ours. Precisely, Frost confirmed. Their defenses are designed to repel conventional attacks, energy weapons, predictable assault patterns, standard tactical doctrine, but they've never faced humans using our evolutionary advantages against them. Commander Okafor studied the proposed operation with growing interest. High-G insertions, physical endurance requirements beyond their tolerance, radiation zones they can't survive. A surgical strike force, Frost continued, comprised of our best troops operating at physiological thresholds the Concordat cannot match. We infiltrate their homeworld, demonstrate our capability to strike at their heart and force negotiation. You're not proposing genocide, Dr. Tanaka clarified, his expression concerned. Never, Frost assured him. We need to show strength, not become the monsters they fear we are. This is about establishing deterrence. After hours of debate, Operation Crucible was approved. A strike force of 7 ships, including the Defiance and Intrepid, would make the perilous journey to the Concordat homeworld, using captured technology to bypass their defense networks. 3 weeks later, Commander Okafor stood on the observation deck of the Intrepid, gazing at the blue-green jewel of Luminara. The planet was breathtaking: calm seas, perfectly balanced ecosystems, and elegant cities that seemed to grow organically from the landscape. Hard to believe they evolved to be so afraid of difference, she murmured to Major Bennett, who stood beside her. Paradise breeds complacency, Bennett replied thoughtfully. They never had to fight to survive like we did. The infiltration had gone exactly as planned. Using stealth technology reverse-engineered from the captured vessel and pushing their ships through maneuvers no Concordat pilot could match, the human fleet had penetrated to the very heart of enemy territory undetected. The strike teams are in position, Bennett reported, checking his tactical pad. Colonel Frost's team has reached the central governance complex. On the planet below, Colonel Frost led a small team of human operatives through the ornate halls of the Concordat's governing chamber. The aliens they encountered were physically incapable of stopping them. Earthborn humans operating in Luminara's lower gravity moved with speed and strength that seemed supernatural to the native population. Within the central chamber, Frost confronted the Concordat High Council, 7 tall, elegant beings who regarded the humans with a mixture of fear and fascination. We could have destroyed your world, Frost stated simply, his voice translated by captured technology. We chose not to. Unlike you, we do not believe difference justifies extermination. The lead counselor, recovering from shock, responded with dignity. You have proven your point, human. Your species possesses capabilities we did not anticipate. We don't want war, Frost continued. But we will not allow our species to be cleansed because our evolutionary path differs from yours. Earth forged us through fire and struggle. It made us adaptable, resilient, determined. And dangerous, the counselor added. Only to those who threaten us, Frost countered. Consider this demonstration as both warning and opportunity. Humanity seeks peaceful coexistence, but we will defend ourselves with all the strengths our crucible world has given us. The council conferred briefly before the leader addressed Frost again. For the first time in 50 millennia, the Concordat faces a species it cannot simply remove. This requires reconsideration of doctrine. In orbit above, Commander Okafor received Frost's signal that negotiations had begun. She turned to her bridge crew, their faces reflecting the same mix of exhaustion and pride she felt. Send word to Earth, she ordered. Operation Crucible successful. The Concordat is ready to recognize humanity's right to exist. As the human fleet prepared for its long journey home, Okafor reflected on the irony of their situation. The very evolutionary crucible that had made humans targets for extermination had also given them the strength to survive it. Earth's harsh lessons, adaptation, endurance, perseverance against overwhelming odds, had prepared humanity for this moment without anyone realizing it. The stars no longer seemed quite so hostile. Perhaps there was room among them for the children of Earth's crucible after all.